Hey, Craig, let's get into some coffee talk.
Hey, I love it. I love doing some coffee talk.
Well, talk about what?
Dogs, daughters, whatever. It's coffee talk.
Coffee talk.
You don't see Mr. Jason's face right now. You may want to pop over to the YouTube channel.
Oh, we're in. We've started. We've begun the talk.
It's been going. So your setup was actually set up during recording.
Okay, Mr. Craig. It's Craig's Corner.
Hey, welcome to Craig's Corner. I want to talk about telling stories. Let me tell you a little story.
I would love you to tell me a story about telling stories, Mr.
Remember
Craig.
we had David Meerman Scott on? Was that his name?
Yes.
David Meerman Scott.
Yes.
He's a big fan of Grateful Dead. I don't know if I know that there's a couple listeners for sure who I've interacted with that are big fans of Grateful Dead. And the Grateful Dead was really interesting in their time. They were truly more about the music than about the business aspect of it. In fact, they were really terrible at the business aspect of it. But what they did, number one, they created a cult, right? I don't mean like, drinking the Kool-Aid and dying or anything, but they created a cult where people followed them. Like gypsies all around the country, right? Followed them all around from show to show to show. They also did something that was remarkable, that they let people come into the concert, and there was a section, a tapers section. So for you millennials listening, it's not, well, they don't even know what a CD is. It's not an MP3. It's an actual physical thing that you can pop into a machine and it plays the music. So what they would do is they would let tapers come in, set up their microphone stand, and record the show. And they actually put them in a decent place where they would capture good audio. Okay. So they also released albums, but nobody bought the albums, or not a lot of people bought the albums. What people did was they traded tapes. You there? And I'm going to tie this in here to why this is. So I remember it was probably late 80s, I started listening to Grateful Dead and really, really enjoyed the music and all that. And one of the things was, well, you could buy the album, go up to Music Plus and buy a CD or the tape, but that wasn't the same as getting your hands on recordings of the concerts. And so people would, you could meet people. You'd have to, write into a magazine, and then you'd have stories or whatever. But people would, like, when you interacted, or even at shows in the parking lot, you could find people selling tapes, right? And so I'd have $20, which in the 80s was a decent amount of money. I'd have $20 or $40 at the show, and I'm like, I'm going to get 5 tapes, right? They're usually $4 or $5 each. And I'd go, and they'd have a whole thing, like the dude have a van and all these tapes, and they would take each tape out and go, oh, this is, Chicago 73, I was at this show. Let me tell you what happened. And they would tell you this story of what happened at the show, of what songs they played, how it was the first time they played this song in 10 years. And so it was really, really interesting in the delivery of the thing. Like, I'd be like, oh, I know I want to pick up this one that I was at. I want to pick up this tape, and there was a really good one from 85 or whatever, right? Like, I'd have like this set number of ones I was going to buy. And if they had them, I was getting those. But then this guy would start going through all of the different tapes that he'd been at. And all of a sudden I end up leaving with 10 tapes. Like, I borrow money from a friend so that I can buy all these tapes because he told a story about each tape. And it made it like, well, dude, I have to have that, right? It wasn't just like, oh, wow, that's a cool one. There's some good music on it. There was a whole story behind it. And it was like, I felt I had FOMO, right? I had the fear of missing out if I didn't have that tape, physically have that tape. And I thought it was really cool. Like, and then relating that to what we do, that's the same thing with the insurance, right? With anything. If you aren't talking about your product, because everybody has insurance, you could either sell like, we're 50, we're 25, 50, blah, 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 go through all your crap that matches everything. That's it. Great. What are they going to choose on? They're going to, okay, you're $10 more. There's no reason to choose. You buy, hang up. But if you actually apply that with a story behind it, let me tell you why our glass coverage is so great. And your story, right? Do you work? Yeah. Oh, you work at McDonald's? Awesome. So let me tell you what they do. You don't have to bring your car anywhere. You get a crack in your windshield. We're gonna actually have somebody come out to McDonald's. They're gonna run in, grab your keys, go out there, and they're gonna replace your windshield while you're working. You don't even have any. They're not even gonna do anything. Nothing, and it's free. It's included with your comprehensive. How awesome is that? And then they're like, "Whoa, that's pretty cool. My insurance doesn't have that." And you know what? Their insurance probably does have that, but they didn't explain it that way. They didn't tell the story behind it, right? And show enthusiasm. Right. And I mean, like, it's the same way in this, like when that guy, like I can remember this one time at like where the guy was going through the tapes and I was like, he was so pumped about these shows that he was at. He was real goofy, had a weird top hat with like little things spinning on it, but amazing, right? Like he could have also just said, this one is from 1973. This one is from 1982, right? But the way that he delivered it, it made it so critical to have it. And it's the same thing with our extremely boring and not wanted product, right? You deliver those liabilities, or the liability coverage, which they almost always have too little of. You tell a story about why it's important, right? Hey, and it has to be a go-to story. We have a go-to story where it's like, hey, let's, do you understand what the liability does? Kind of, right? That's what they say. Kind of. They don't want to be dumb, but they really don't know what it is. So, okay, let me explain what it is. Right now you have 2550. So 25,000. If you hit somebody and they get injured, then we're going to pay out for 25,000. Let me explain what that means. Or let me tell you what happened to one of our clients, somebody that just switched to us. They were driving down the street. They had their phone, right? So they had their little phone in their car, and they were looking at it because they had to get directions to where they were going. Well, they looked at it for a second. You know, they're a good driver. They're safe. They don't like look at their phone all day. But then when they picked it up, it kind of fumbled out of their hand and it fell between the seat. So they looked down for a second to grab between the seat, and the car in front of them slammed on their brake because a kid ran out in front of the car. Well, they weren't expecting that, right? They're a good driver, but all of a sudden they look up, wham, they hit the back of the car. Well, the person that's in the car gets out, they're holding their neck, and they end up going to the hospital via ambulance because they got pretty screwed up. It's a couple $100,000 because they have to get surgery. Now, you have a $25,000 of protection. I would guess that the ambulance ride and the room for the night cost more than that 25,000, not even talking about the surgery. So we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what happens is if you don't have that money because your insurance didn't cover it, that comes out of your pocket. Well, I don't have any money. Totally get it. But you work, and they can actually garnish your wages at a certain percentage for the next 20 years. Imagine going to work every day, walking in, and knowing that 25% or 20% or whatever the number is in your state is being taken out before you get your paycheck. Or we can put it at $250, $500, which is what we recommend. And that's not going to happen because now you're protected all the way up to, protecting you for that. And it only costs about $20 a month difference. Seems like something we should look at, right? Yes. Okay, perfect. But telling that story is which will tie them to that coverage that they need. Saying, I recommend $250, $500. Oh, okay. Sounds more expensive, right? You don't want to go down that road. And I did an awful lot of talking.
No, stories sell. I think it was more of a mic drop moment because that's it. I mean, that is, everybody wants to know, like, oh, how do I, it's always about going harder on the close. Well, I don't want to close hard. Well, you don't have to close hard. Just story hard. Like get really tug at those heartstrings and stuff. And that does the selling for you.
Sure. Yeah. You get the agreement all along the way about the need. Now they need it. So when they give you I need to talk to my spouse, you reply, what questions do you think your spouse would have? And then because the spouse is a BS excuse anyway, they're going to give you the questions that they are thinking about that they're going to say their spouse was going to do, and then solve those questions. Great. Well, all I need is the account routing number. We'll get this started. Oh, well, I need to think about it. I totally understand thinking about it. Here's the thing is the rates change every day. They go up and down. I don't know that I can lock this in. The only way that I can guarantee that you're going to get this with these coverages that you agreed you need is to put in your account routing number. We'll start it a week out, blah, 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 right? Go through the whole thing. And that's how you close it. That's not a hard close. That's not putting them in a headlock. That's just helping them get the thing they need.
I want you to pick up your cell phone and text 520-214-2219 and tell Mr. Craig a awesome story about a coverage. Just a really tug at his heartstrings. And whoever's the best one, we will read on the next Coffee Talk. Craig's
and
Corner.
I'll buy him a t-shirt.
Ooh.
I'll pay half. Jason will pay the other half.
Okay.
No, I don't care. Yeah.
No, that's a mic drop because that's it. Stories. Get good at telling the story. Nobody wants to listen to anything other than stories. Stories is the only way to. That's how we communicate. I mean, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, everything throughout time that has continued to exist is based on stories, right?
Yep. True.
Yep.
Coffee Talk.
It's a Coffee Talk.
Hey, Jason.
Yes, Mr. Craig.
That was another awesome episode, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if people want to get a little bit more action and learn how to do write 100,000 in premium off of even the worst internet leads, where could they go?
They can go to live.teledudes.com.
Ooh, that sounds exciting. Are we going to be there?
Yes, it's a weekly call that we're doing right now it's live and it will show you the process. The entire process is super awesome.
I love it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Sign up right now, live.teledudes.com.
Live.teledudes.com. That's live.teledudes.com.
Hey, Craig, there's a new community that we are starting that I cannot wait to tell everybody about. It is our live texting community where you and I are going to answer people's questions and give them free content, right?
Are you kidding me? We get to talk to them?
Yeah, which is awesome, but they have to opt in. They have to text us at 520-214-2219. That's 520-214-2219.
Nice.
Craig, are you going to respond to these texts?
I'm going to respond to them for sure. Live.
I'm into it too. It's going to be awesome. And it's going to be our new texting community where we're going to get back to everybody that we can and drop some crazy content, free content, and free the calculator that you just came up with. That's right. The calling calculator, sales material. I mean, everything for insurance agents. This is it. It's the best texting community out there for insurance agents.
Well, what the heck is that number again? I can't remember it.
It's 520-214-2219. That's 520-214-2219.
I love it. I'm going to text it right now.
520-214-2219.
All right. I'll see you later, Mr. Jason.
Bye, Mr. Craig.
Wait, do they even listen to this on the radio anymore?
I love it. I love it.
Nice.